You've waited for this moment for years. The idea of wandering through cobblestone alleys, sipping espresso in a sunlit square, and standing in front of architectural marvels that have witnessed centuries of history. It's all finally about to come true. As you sip your morning coffee and stare at the open tabs on your laptop, a mix of excitement and slight panic washes over you. Europe awaits. But where do you begin? Planning is your first step, and it quickly becomes clear that flexibility is key. You open Google Flights and begin the treasure hunt. The map view and date grid open up a world of possibilities. Should you fly into Paris or Rome? Maybe a cheaper route to Lisbon or Budapest? A tip you didn't expect pops up. Many airlines offer free stopovers, like Icelandair's tempting option to explore Reykjavik for a few days on your way to the continent. Your itinerary could be a two-in-one adventure. You jot down notes furiously, remembering to avoid the peak summer crush if you can. Mid-June to August might be postcard perfect, but it's also when the crowds and prices explode. If you've got the flexibility, you aim for shoulder season. Perhaps May or late September, when the light is golden and the pace just right. You also highlight Easter and Christmas breaks in red, European school holidays that can make even the smallest towns feel overcrowded. Then comes the hardest part, narrowing down where to go. The temptation to check off every famous country is real, especially when the map makes everything seem deceptively close. But deep down, you know that slowing down and savoring a couple of countries in depth, rather than racing through 6 in a blur, is the way to go. As you read more, you discover the importance of understanding the Schengen zone. You hadn't realized that border-free travel isn't all across Europe, just within specific countries. Your 90-day limit in the Schengen area gives you an idea. Maybe mix Schengen and non-Schengen countries to extend your stay without breaking the rules. And then, like a seasoned traveler in the making, you order your Wise card, a sleek solution to currency woes and bank fees. This isn't just a trip anymore. It's your adventure, taking shape with every decision. You feel the thrill building, the promise of discovery, of tasting something new, and most of all, of making this trip your own. As your plans begin to take shape, the list of iconic destinations grows. Paris, Rome, Amsterdam, Barcelona. They sparkle in your imagination like stars on a map. But then, you pause. A little voice in your head reminds you, Europe isn't a checklist. It's an experience. And the more you cram into a short trip, the more you risk turning your dream into a blur of train stations and missed connections. So you choose quality over quantity. Instead of 6 countries in 2 weeks, you opt for 2, maybe Italy and Croatia, or France and Portugal. You'll explore beyond the capitals, dive deep into smaller towns, taste regional food, and actually remember the places you visit. It feels right. You begin to dig deeper. The idea of off the beaten path calls to you. Sure, you'll visit Paris. But what about Colmar, Annecy, or Dijon? And if London's on the list, why not take a day trip to Bath or the Cotswolds? Suddenly, your itinerary feels less like a guidebook copy and more like a personalized adventure. You're not just going to Europe, you're discovering your Europe. As your days fill in, you realize accommodations are a race against the clock. You jump on Booking.com and begin hunting for hotels and guest houses with free cancellation, just in case plans change. The sooner you book, the better the price. You learn that star ratings in Europe don't mean the same as back home. A charming 2-star inn might blow a sterile 4-star hotel out of the water. Lesson noted. Then there's your phone. You prepare it like it's part of your travel gear. Google Translate gets downloaded, a lifeline when menus are in Catalan or signs in Polish. You add Omio, your new best friend for comparing trains, buses, and flights, and Splitwise for splitting expenses when you meet travel buddies along the way. One app, though, surprises you most. Too Good to Go. You'll be able to buy end-of-day leftovers from cafes and bakeries at deep discounts. It's sustainable, affordable, and kind of thrilling. Who knew food could be an adventure, too? Before wrapping up the night, you purchase travel insurance. You hesitate. It feels like a luxury, but you've heard enough stories to know better. This trip is the dream of a lifetime. You're not about to let a sprained ankle or lost luggage ruin it. Bit by bit, your adventure is coming into focus. It's not just a trip anymore. It's a masterpiece in motion. Your flight is booked, your accommodation secured, and now it's time to figure out how you'll actually get around. Europe's transport web is vast and well-connected, a far cry from what you're used to back home. You're excited, but you know a little research now will save you big headaches later. First up, trains. You've always imagined zipping through the countryside, watching medieval villages pass by your window. But should you get a Eurail pass? Maybe not. As romantic as the idea is, you discover that unless you're traveling frequently and over long distances, booking individual tickets in advance might be cheaper. You bookmark several rail websites and check out Seat 61 for route inspiration. Suddenly, train travel feels more doable, even thrilling. You start learning the quirks of different countries. In some places, like Italy or Germany, you'll need to validate your paper train ticket before boarding. A small detail, but one that could lead to unexpected fines if you forget. You make a mental note. Always validate. Always keep your ticket. Europe doesn't play around with public transport rules. Then there's the question of renting a car. You had considered it, dreaming of vineyard roads and cliffside villages. But unless you're heading somewhere rural, like the Highlands of Scotland or the Dolomites, it might be more hassle than it's worth. European cities weren't built for cars? Narrow streets, limited parking, and aggressive roundabouts? No thanks. Still, if you do rent a car, you now know to check if you need a vignette, a prepaid toll sticker for highway access in countries like Switzerland or Austria. Skip it, and you'll get hit with a fine via hidden cameras at the border. You won't make that mistake. Budget airlines? You weren't sure about them at first. Ryanair, EasyJet, Wizz Air, they all sound a little too good to be true, but now you see the appeal. A $20 flight from Berlin to Milan? Count you in, as long as you follow the rules. You learn to pack light, seriously light, print boarding passes ahead of time, and never, ever underestimate the fees for forgetting. Apps like Uber and FREENOW become your transport safety net. Taxis in some cities are notorious for overcharging tourists, especially from airports. Booking through an app lets you avoid scams and track your route. Even better? Pre-booking an airport transfer with a reputable service so someone's waiting for you, sign in hand. You're no longer just a visitor, you're preparing like a pro. Europe won't catch you off guard. You've imagined yourself standing before the Eiffel Tower, gazing up at the Colosseum, strolling through the halls of the Louvre. These places have lived in your imagination for years, and now they're on your itinerary. But as you start researching the details, reality kicks in. They're going to be packed. The first rule you learn: expect scaffolding. Europe's landmarks are old, like ancient. Restoration is constant, and chances are, at least one of your bucket list sites will be partially covered or undergoing work. It's disappointing at first, but then you remind yourself, the real beauty of Europe lies in its layers, its resilience. A few construction barriers won't ruin your trip. You make a new rule. Always check official websites for updated info. Blog posts and third-party platforms often miss changes in hours or ticket prices, so you bookmark the sites for every major attraction and check for the latest updates. Pro tip? Look at the site in the local language if possible. It's often more accurate than the English version. You also begin buying tickets in advance. No more waiting in long lines or risking sellouts. Whenever possible, you splurge on skip-the-line passes. It's worth it. Time is the most valuable currency you'll have on this trip. To beat the crowds, you come up with a game plan. Either get up at dawn or go late in the day. Most tourists swarm places at opening, so you aim for just before closing, when tours have finished and foot traffic slows. It worked like magic when you tested it back home. Now you're bringing that trick across the Atlantic. And then you discover the magic of after-hours and pre-hours tours. Imagine seeing the Vatican museums with only a handful of others, or walking the streets of Venice at sunrise with nothing but birds and echoes. You start adding a few of these exclusive experiences to your list. A sunrise tour here, a night stroll there. The cities feel more intimate, more yours. But not every experience needs a ticket. You remind yourself to seek out the free gems too: parks, cathedrals, markets, viewpoints. Often, those unscripted, unexpected moments, a quiet garden, a local street musician, will become the ones you treasure most. Because this trip, it isn't just about ticking off attractions, it's about seeing the world your way. You've booked the dream, your itinerary is polished, but now it's time to get serious, staying safe on the road. You're not worried, exactly. But you've heard enough cautionary tales to know that a little awareness goes a long way in Europe's most touristed cities. The first thing you do is simple. You train yourself to be observant. You'll walk with purpose, hold your bag close in crowds, and always be mindful of who's around you. Not paranoid, just alert. Because many scams, you learn, thrive on distraction, and the more distracted you are, the easier a target you become. You watch a few videos about common tourist scams and start building your inner scam radar. The free rose trick? You're not falling for it. A stranger approaches and tries to hand you a bracelet or souvenir, saying it's a gift. But the second you take it, they demand money. You make a note. If someone offers you something for free, walk away without engaging. Then there's the petition scam. It always starts with a sweet-looking young woman, clipboard in hand, asking if you'll sign something for the children. Meanwhile, her accomplice is watching your pockets. The solution? Just say no and keep moving. Your time and attention are precious. Pickpocketing hotspots. You make sure to research them for every city you'll visit. Paris metro lines, the Spanish Steps in Rome, La Rambla in Barcelona. They're all beautiful but notorious. Knowing what to expect gives you an edge. You also learn to never leave your phone on cafe tables or your bag dangling from a chair. It only takes a second for it to disappear. You get smart about money, too. Cash is still useful, especially in small towns or markets, but you resolve never to carry more than you're willing to lose. And that slick Wise card you ordered? It's ready to go, with backup cards stashed in your luggage just in case. And then there's your phone. You'll be using it constantly for navigation, translation, and photos. But you're aware now. In some cities, phone snatching is a real threat. When you're near roads, bike lanes, or open train doors, you'll keep it tucked away. You even pick up a couple of tiny cable locks. They won't stop a determined thief, but they'll make your backpack just inconvenient enough to be ignored. You don't let fear shape your trip. You let preparation empower it. With each tip you learn, you feel more ready, not just to survive your trip, but to enjoy it fully, confidently, and wisely. As the plane descends, your thoughts drift to food. Not just any food, but freshly baked croissants, steaming bowls of pasta, vibrant market produce, and unknown delicacies waiting to surprise you. You're ready to eat your way across Europe, but first, you have to learn the rules of the game. The golden rule? Avoid restaurants near tourist attractions. The closer the view of a monument, the more likely the food will be overpriced and underwhelming. Instead, you make a habit of walking a few blocks away, ducking into quiet neighborhoods where locals actually dine. There, you find better prices, better ingredients, and the warmth of authenticity. You also learn how to spot a tourist trap. Menus in 10 languages? Big color photos of food? A chalkboard screaming, "Tourist menu?" Those are red flags. And if there are no prices listed, that's your cue to walk away, no matter how hungry you are. Before sitting down, you make a habit of checking the restaurant's reviews. A quick search can save you from an expensive mistake. And if you're on a budget but craving something special, you discover the lunchtime hack. Splurge at lunch, not dinner. Many places offer fixed, multi-course lunches for a fraction of the dinner price. You also adjust to the cultural flow of meals. Unlike back home, the bill won't arrive until you ask for it, and you learn to enjoy that slower pace. Dining isn't rushed in Europe. It's meant to be savored, lingered over. You settle into this rhythm, a glass of wine, a little people watching, and no pressure to vacate your table. But some things still catch you off guard. Like when a basket of bread appears on your table, and then mysteriously appears on your bill. You smile, now in the know. Bread often isn't free, and tap water isn't the default. When in doubt, ask politely, and don't be surprised if even water comes bottled. Then there's the joy of local markets. You begin hunting them down in every city. places where locals shop, flavors are freshest, and prices are friendly. A wedge of cheese here, a handful of olives there. And suddenly, you're picnicking on the steps of a centuries-old cathedral with a view that money can't buy. Europe teaches you that eating isn't just about food. It's about connection, culture, and curiosity. Every bite tells a story. You've adjusted to the food, the transport, even the slower pace of service. Now comes the most rewarding part of the journey: cultural connection. Europe isn't just about seeing things. It's about feeling them, blending in when needed, and standing out for all the right reasons. You start with something simple, learning a few phrases in the local language. Hello, please, thank you, and do you speak English? These become your daily mantras. Even when your pronunciation is off, the effort earns you warm smiles. It's a small gesture that says, I respect your world enough to try. Then, you start to notice the unspoken rules. In Paris, people speak softly on the metro. In Germany, jaywalking draws glares. In Italy, coffee is fast and strong, not a long laptop-filled affair. You adapt, you observe, you mimic locals. Because you're not just a tourist, you're a respectful guest. One big lesson: don't speak too loud. It's a stereotype that North Americans tend to talk at a higher volume, and once you're aware of it, you catch yourself. You keep your voice down in public transport, in restaurants, and sacred spaces. The result? You start blending in more than you expected. You also do some research into local etiquette. How much do you tip? Should you greet with a handshake or a kiss on the cheek? Are public displays of affection acceptable here? These details matter. They show that you care about being part of the fabric, not just passing through it. And then there are the folk festivals. You hadn't planned for them, but a quick search reveals a whole calendar of cultural events happening during your trip. Harvest festivals in rural Austria, midsummer celebrations in Scandinavia, outdoor opera in Italy. You rearrange a few dates, and suddenly your itinerary isn't just about places, it's about experiences. The best part? You start feeling like a local in small moments, buying fruit at the neighborhood market, riding a tram without checking the map, ordering your coffee like you've done it 100 times. These are the hidden victories, quiet affirmations that you're doing it right. Travel isn't just about moving through space, it's about shifting your mindset. With each city, each custom, and each person you meet, you shed a little more of the outsider and step into the rhythm of life, the local way. The departure date is getting close, and your suitcase lies open, waiting. You thought packing would be easy, until you realized Europe isn't just one destination, but many, each with its own quirks. Packing for Paris isn't the same as packing for Prague. And cobblestones? They don't care if your suitcase has spinner wheels. So you begin to pack smart. Rule number 1. Pack light. Light enough to carry your luggage up a flight of stairs by yourself. Europe's charming hotels often come without elevators, and train stations without ramps. You imagine lugging a giant suitcase up a winding staircase in Lisbon and decide, then and there, that less is definitely more. You invest in packing cubes, and they change everything. Suddenly, your clothes are organized, your bag compact, and digging for socks becomes a thing of the past. You roll, you fold, you optimize. You've also learned your footwear lesson. Style is nice, but comfort is king. In Europe, walking is a way of life, along rivers, across plazas, and through ancient ruins. So you choose one great pair of walking shoes, broken in and ready for miles of discovery. A few extras go into your bag that seasoned travelers swear by. A universal adapter, because not every country uses the same plug, and your phone deserves to stay charged. A light jacket with hidden pockets, more useful and discreet than a money belt. An emergency outfit in your carry-on, just in case your checked bag takes a detour. You even toss in a couple of AirTags for peace of mind. One in your suitcase, one in your day pack. If anything goes missing, you'll be one step ahead. You skip oversized toiletries and DIY your own travel-sized versions of your favorites. This way, you don't need to rely on whatever the hotel provides, and you won't exceed any airline liquid limits. And you print, yes, print, a few key documents, confirmations, tickets, a copy of your passport. Because sometimes phones die, Wi-Fi fails, and paper saves the day. By the time you zip up your suitcase, it's clear. This isn't overpacking. This is strategic packing. each item chosen to make your travels smoother, safer, and more enjoyable. You're ready not just to go to Europe, but to travel Europe like a pro. The big day is almost here. Your flights are confirmed, your bags are packed, and your itinerary is solid, but not too rigid. Now, it's all about the little things, the final travel habits and hidden hacks that turn a good trip into a great one. First, you discover the magic of Google Maps' saved spots. Every cafe, viewpoint, museum, and hidden alley you've researched, you mark it with a star or a heart. Now your digital map looks like a treasure hunt, and better yet, it's organized by neighborhood. No more flipping between lists or trying to remember which church someone recommended in Lisbon. Next comes the shopping trick, VAT refunds. As a non-resident, you're eligible to claim back a portion of the taxes on your purchases. The process varies by country, but with a little paperwork and planning at the airport, you could get back a surprising chunk of change from those souvenirs or designer finds. Worth it? Definitely. Then there are those Europe-specific quirks you've now memorized. Like how, in many places, the first floor is not the ground floor, it's the one above it. Or how a menu in France means a set meal, not the list of dishes. You smile thinking about these details, realizing how much you've learned. You also prepare for surprises in the bedroom, like double beds made from two singles pushed together with a mysterious gap down the middle. Or pillows that are square, flat, and confusing. You've been warned, and now you're ready to embrace the quirks with a sense of humor. You promise yourself to check supermarket etiquette when abroad. In many countries, you have to weigh your produce before the cashier rings it up. And some stores charge for plastic bags. No big deal, but worth being prepared. You've also planned for moments of rest. A quiet picnic in a park, a casual stroll at sunset, maybe a quick nap on a train. Because sometimes, doing nothing is the most authentic part of the trip. And yes, in Europe, drinking a glass of wine or a beer in a public square is not only allowed, but embraced. Finally, you remind yourself, flexibility is your friend. Delays will happen, scaffolding will cover that church. Weather may change your plans, but none of that will ruin your trip. Not if you travel with curiosity, kindness, and an open mind. You're not just prepared anymore. You're ready, heart, mind, and passport in hand. And just like that, the morning arrives. The suitcase is zipped. The passport is tucked safely in your bag. You take one last glance at your list, but the real preparation is already within you. You're not heading to Europe just with a camera and a checklist. You're bringing perspective, confidence, and curiosity. As the plane lifts off, the world below starts to shrink. But your world is about to expand. You're flying into more than just another continent. You're flying into stories. The first days blur with newness. Different languages swirl in the air. Street signs look like puzzles. Public transport moves fast. But you're ready. You're not shocked by the cultural pace, the slower service, the quiet train rides, the formality in some places and warmth in others. You adapt. That's what travelers do. You remember to greet people in their language, to smile and say thank you in Italian, Spanish, German, or Greek. And those small moments? They change everything. They open doors. They earn kindness in return. In every city, your map fills with stars. A hidden cafe you loved, a bookstore you stumbled across, a little bench with a perfect view. These aren't just points on a screen. They're memories forming in real time. Sometimes things go wrong. A bus runs late, a museum is closed. You get rained on without an umbrella. But instead of frustration, you laugh. You pivot. You find a bakery and sit under a canopy with a warm drink, watching the world pass by. And in that moment, you realize that the unplanned parts of travel are often the most human. You start noticing what makes this continent so special. The rhythm of life is different here. Meals take longer. Mornings start later. Streets are full of history and motion and stillness all at once. You slow down. You look up. You listen. By the time your trip nears its end, something has shifted. You've changed. You've grown more aware, more patient, more grounded. Europe didn't just show you places, it gave you perspective. And when the return flight touches down and someone asks, "How was it?" you smile. Because there's no single answer. You'll tell stories about stolen sunsets, unexpected kindness, and how you learned to order coffee like a local. But some moments, the quiet ones, the ones that felt like magic, those will stay with you, wordless but permanent. You left for Europe with plans. You return home with memories, wisdom, and a heart full of wonder. And the best part? This was only the beginning.